Roger, now LOS and ALS times for you this fast.
So Solar Expanse is a space exploration management sim from developer SpaceOps and publisher Games Operators, currently in early access on Steam. You're not flying rockets by hand like Kerbal Space Program. Instead, you're running a 21st century space company, planning missions, managing logistics, and slowly expanding your reach across the solar system. Think of it more like a real-time strategy management game built on top of actual orbital mechanics. The core fantasy is genuinely ambitious. You start with basic Earth orbit missions, and over the course of the game, you're mining asteroids, colonizing Mars and the moons of Jupiter, terraforming planets, and eventually building an interstellar ship to leave the solar system entirely. But here's what most beginners completely miss going in this game is single player, and it's built around realistic physics. Every planet, moon, and asteroid is actually moving in real time, which means your missions aren't just point A to point B. You have to plan around where things will be, not where they are right now. Story and setting. There's no traditional story here, no characters, no cutscenes. This is a sandbox management sim, and the story is really just the arc of human space expansion itself. You start small, competing with rival corporations for contracts near Earth. Over time, and we're talking potentially hundreds of in-game years, you'll push out to the asteroid belt, the outer planets, and eventually beyond our solar system entirely once you unlock interstellar flight. It's less about narrative and more about watching your own empire unfold across an actual timeline of expansion, which honestly hits different than a scripted campaign. Core gameplay loop 220 to 320. Here's what you'll actually be doing most of the time. You scan celestial bodies to figure out what resources they hold, plan and launch missions to reach them, mine or collect resources, transport those resources where they're needed, and use them to fund research, build infrastructure, and take on bigger contracts. It's a loop of scout, plan, launch, deliver, repeat, and every layer of that loop gets more complex as you unlock better tech and expand further out. However, this next part has a hidden catch because everything's constantly moving. Your delivery route today won't necessarily work again next week. Successful players build repeatable cyclical missions rather than one-off flights, which we'll get into shortly. First things every beginner should do, 320 to 415. When you start a new game, here's exactly what to prioritize. First, take on reliable survey contracts near Earth or the Moon before chasing anything ambitious. These pay consistently because the requirements are simple and explicit. Reach orbit, complete instrument passes, downlink your data. Second, read your contracts carefully before accepting them. Hidden requirements like comms, relay coverage, minimum censored tiers, or landing tolerances can quietly sink a mission you thought was straightforward. Third, deploy telescopes and prospector probes early to actually understand what's out there before committing serious money toward mining a specific target. Your early goal isn't spectacle, it's predictable income. Don't try to reach Jupiter on day one. Build a stable little Earth orbit economy first. Beginner friendly settings and controls. Quick practical note, Solar Expanse leans on time acceleration heavily, since actual orbital transfers can take real in-game months. Get comfortable fast-forwarding time and pausing at key decision points rather than watching everything unfold in real time. The game doesn't currently have deep accessibility options for simplifying the physics, so if you're coming in with zero orbital mechanics background, expect a genuine learning curve. That's normal. Take it slow. Resources and currencies 445 to 545. Your main currency is straightforward money, earned through completing contracts and selling resources. But the resources themselves matter just as much. Water is huge early on, since it can be processed into fuel and life support. Metals feed your construction and manufacturing chains, and various rarer materials unlock more advanced tech down the line. This next tip will save you hours. Not every asteroid is worth mining. A lot of bodies, even famous ones like Ceres, don't actually have interesting resources once you scan them properly. Always prospect before you commit a mining operation, or you'll sink real time and money into a body that gives you almost nothing back. Base building, mining, and progression systems. As you progress, you'll construct fuel stations, launch sites, space elevators, mining stations, and eventually full colonies on the bodies you've claimed. The full mining chain looks something like this: prospector, then classification, then a mining station, then processing, then transport, then market. If any one link in that chain breaks, everything backs up. Mined resources with no way to reach a refinery or buyer are just sitting there doing nothing for you. There's one mechanic the game never really explains well. Bodies with weak gravity, like small moons or asteroids, need an actual launch system built before cargo can take off from them at all. New players constantly get stuck wondering why their resources won't move, and it's usually because they skipped building a launch vehicle or system on the originating body. Research and technology. Research funds better mining tech, more efficient engines, advanced scanners, and eventually the infrastructure needed for terraforming and interstellar flight. Early on, prioritize anything that improves your logistics. Better fuel efficiency and more capable launch vehicles pay off constantly, since you'll be running transport routes non-stop for the rest of the game. Orbital mechanics and mission planning. This is the mechanic that defines the entire game. So let's talk about it properly. Every object, planets, moons, asteroids, your own ships, is constantly moving. Mission planning means accounting for where your target will actually be when your ship arrives, not where it is right now. You can use gravity assists to slingshot your rockets further using less fuel, which becomes essential once you're pushing out toward the outer planets. If you can't explain why your fuel bill looks the way it does, you're probably not planning your trajectory correctly. You're just guessing. But here's the part most beginners completely miss: cyclical missions. Instead of manually planning every single supply run, you can set up repeating automated routes between 2 points. This is how experienced players actually manage logistics at scale. Because manually, replanning every transfer window gets overwhelming fast once you've got multiple projects running at once. Best beginner strategies and choices. If you're wondering where to focus first, Mars and its moon Phobos are a genuinely solid early expansion target. A common beginner strategy is getting metal production running on Mars, then using efficient transport ships to move resources between Mars orbit and Phobos orbit. Set up 3 linked cyclical missions, surface to orbit on each body, plus an orbit to orbit transfer between them. And you've got a self sustaining local supply chain that doesn't need constant babysitting. Avoid overcommitting to fancy vehicle types before you understand their limitations. Some ships, like solar sails, sound efficient on paper but can't actually launch from most bodies. They're better suited for orbit to orbit transfers only, not surface operations. Biggest beginner mistakes. Let's go through the mistakes that trip up almost every new player. 1. Accepting contracts without reading the fine print, then getting blindsided by hidden requirements. 2. Mining a body without prospecting it first and finding out too late it's basically worthless. 3. Building a mining operation with no launch system on that body, so nothing can actually take off. 4. Planning missions like the target isn't moving and missing your window entirely. 5. Ignoring fuel efficiency and burning through resources on inefficient routes. 6. Chasing distant ambitious targets before establishing a stable Earth orbit economy first. 7. Manually planning every single mission instead of setting up cyclical routes and burning out on the busy work. 8. Losing track of which cyclical mission is delivering what. Once you're running several projects simultaneously. 9. Underinvesting in scanning and telescope infrastructure, which leaves you guessing at what's actually out there. And 10. Assuming every launch vehicle type works everywhere, when several are genuinely body specific in what they can actually do. Advanced mechanics. The game doesn't explain well a few things worth knowing that the game doesn't spell out clearly. Long transport routes are often better broken into shorter, refillable hops, using smaller, more frequent ships rather than one giant long-haul vessel. It gives you more flexibility with launch windows and reduces risk if something goes wrong mid-route. Terraforming feedstock matters chemically, not just by volume. Dumping mass onto a planet's atmosphere only helps if it's actually the right composition your terraforming systems can use. More isn't automatically better here. And fuel depots are seriously underrated. Positioning them where multiple routes intersect turns scattered mining operations into an actual efficient network rather than a pile of disconnected one-off trips. Quality of life and things to prioritize. Get comfortable with the cyclical mission system as early as possible. It's genuinely the backbone of a functioning mid to late game economy, and the earlier you understand it, the less overwhelming your expansion will feel. Things worth unlocking first. Better scanning tech, so you stop wasting resources on bad targets, and improved launch vehicles, since you'll be relying on them constantly. Things to avoid early. Don't overextend toward the outer planets before your logistics chain near Earth and Mars is actually stable. A shaky foundation makes everything further out exponentially harder to manage. Frequently asked beginner questions. Quick beginner FAQ. Is it hard? Yes, if you've never touched orbital mechanics before. There's a real learning curve, but it's manageable if you take your early missions slow. Is it multiplayer? No, it's single player only, focused entirely on building your own space program. How long is it? It's genuinely open-ended. You can play indefinitely, expanding your reach for as long as you want. Is it finished? No, it's currently early access, with the developers actively adding features like advanced space stations, megastructures, and a robotic workforce down the line. Is Solar Expanse worth playing? Let's be honest about this. The pros? The core gameplay loop of planning missions and managing logistics across a real, moving solar system is genuinely satisfying once it clicks, and the sense of watching your operations scale from one rocket to an interstellar capable empire is a payoff few games in this genre pull off well. The cons: it's early access, so expect rough edges, some missing quality of life features around managing multiple cyclical missions, and a real learning curve if orbital mechanics is new to you. If you enjoyed games like Kerbal Space Program or Per Aspera and want something that leans more into the management and logistics side than manual piloting, this is genuinely worth your time. Recent updates beginners should know. Since this is early access, the game is still actively evolving. The developers have said they're planning around a year in early access, with plans to add other star systems, advanced space stations, megastructures, a lone system, and automated robotic labor down the line. Worth checking the update history before you dive in, since balance and mechanics can shift between patches. Final thoughts: Solar Expanse rewards patience more than almost any management game out there. It's not about fast reflexes, it's about clean planning, understanding the math of the stars, and slowly, deliberately building something enormous. Don't rush your first few hours. Get comfortable with contracts and simple orbit missions before you start dreaming about Jupiter's moons. That patience is exactly what turns a confusing first launch into a genuinely rewarding space empire. Tell me, did you play the demo before jumping into the full early access release? What's the first body you're planning to colonize? And honestly, has orbital mechanics broken your brain yet? Drop it in the comments. If this helped you get started, a like goes a long way. And subscribe if you want more Solar Expanse guides as the game keeps developing. Alright, go build your space empire. See you in the next one.